It's been a busy week in the Inland Northwest, so let's get you caught up with the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Cody Proctor. Thanks for being here with us. Over the next half hour, we'll take a look back at some of the news you might have missed from the past week. So let's get started with one of the biggest stories from the Inland Northwest.
After days of conversation,
Thank you. That passes 5-2.
Spokane City Council voted to approve Department of Justice grant funds the Spokane Police Department applied for.
I'm happy, obviously, with the decision. This was a lot of staff work on the front end to get this grant in.
Spokane Police Chief Kevin Hall says despite City Council's approval, he understands the public's concerns and fears with accepting federal help and wants to reiterate this will not change how SPD operates.
There is this idea that somehow this makes us immigration officers, or we become under the heel of the federal administration, and we'll have to do things that are against our values and against the values of the Spokane community. And that is absolutely not true. This grant changes none of that.
The grant money will go towards the over $6 million budget to hire 8 new officers that Chief Hall says will crack down on gun violence throughout the city, as well as improving community policing strategies. On top of complying with the 39 different conditions laid out of the grant, the city of Spokane will also have to match 25% of the $1 million being awarded, meaning the city will have to pay $250,000.
This is a really hard one and a really complicated one.
Although the vote was not unanimous, the Spokane City Council agreed that although it's a risk, this money comes from the community's tax dollars and should be used to help us locally. Councilmember Kitty Klitsky even going as far as saying she's prepared to stand up to the federal government in court if necessary.
If we get into a situation where we're talking about giving those tax dollars back, I think I would want to fight that too. I would rather fight the Trump administration in court and put myself out there legally at risk to make the point that the federal government does not have the right to leverage our tax dollars to punish jurisdictions that are political opponents.
Chief Hall assured that if later down the line the city can't comply with changing conditions or maybe new executive orders from the president, that his department is ready to pay back that money as well as absorb any additional costs. In Spokane, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
On Thursday, lawmakers opened Idaho's new parental tax credit. It sets $50 million of state funds aside to help families who aren't using the public school system with education costs. Lawmakers approved the program last year. Families can get up to $5,000 per child or $7,500 for a student with a disability. If qualified, families can use the money for things like textbooks, tutoring, and some forms of transportation, among other things. Anyone interested in applying has until March 15th to do so on the Idaho State Tax Commission website. The credit's gaining support from the nationwide nonprofit Yes, Every Kid Foundation. Their goal is to help serve kids and their families through legislation that helps them achieve success. They released a statement on the tax application opening, saying in part, this program expands real options for families by opening the door to a wider range of learning environments that reflect students' unique needs, interests, and circumstances. Meanwhile, the Idaho Education Association sued to block the program. They argue it violates the state constitution by using public taxpayer funds to benefit private education. The Idaho Supreme Court will hear arguments in the case next week. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Well, Senate Bill 5855 aims to ban face coverings such as opaque masks, garments, or other items that conceal or obscure the face and identity of law enforcement officers.
Strong reactions were heard from both supporters and opponents.
We understand that public trust is important.
This clearly to me is political grandstanding.
Senate Bill 5855 reads, a law enforcement officer shall not wear a facial covering while interacting with the public and the performance of their duties. It is sponsored by 27 senators, including Spokane Senator Marcus Riccelli. Documents show the bill only excludes officers that are authorized for undercover operations or SWAT officers wearing necessary protective gear. Senators in the room stated this bill is about safety and transparency, and it is not just related to immigration's enforcement.
We are seeing individuals who are in unmarked vehicles, not identifying themselves, abducting American citizens, legal permanent residents, people that are here lawfully, that it is our right to know who we're interacting with and why.
Opponents say the bill overlooks the safety concerns law enforcement faces in the line of duty.
So they deserve to feel safe when they're doing their jobs too. ICE agents or other federal agents aren't from some other country. They're our people too.
Senator Nikki Torres warned this bill could expose officers to lawsuits, adding that amid a budget deficit, it could only increase costs for the state.
If I take my philosophical hat off, we're looking at our budget or we're trying to balance our budget. This is only going to make it worse.
This summer, the Spokane Police Department updated its protocol with the increase in immigration enforcement and agents concealing their identities. SPD policy says officers can respond to calls and may check credentials to check if a federal agent is legitimate. But if verified, they cannot interfere with federal law enforcement operations.
We will respond to these calls if you're afraid, if you don't believe this is a legitimate action.
And today, the bill cleared its first major hurdle, advancing to the Rules Committee, an important gatekeeper that will decide if the bill reaches the Senate floor. For now, I'm reporting in the newsroom. Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
As we go to break, here's a check of your forecast. Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Week in Review. Each weekend, we walk you through headlines from the past week in the Inland Northwest.
The news of Eastern Washington ending its adaptive athletics program came as a shock to the coaches and those in the program, but it'll also have a ripple effect on parasport athletes nationwide. Eastern's program was one of only 12 programs at the college level nationwide. There is no transfer portal or easy solution for these athletes to find a new home.
Dozens of student athletes that are in high school that were messaging us, whether that's through social media or our emails, just letting us know, how devastated they are, how they were considering coming to Eastern.
Roster spots are limited at other schools, and since the closest program to Cheney is in Arizona, the athletes have to move across the country or choose between education and basketball.
A number of these guys on this team didn't even think college was an option, and they pursued it because of wheelchair basketball. Some of the other teams, they might not have an opportunity to get court time on, or because it's out of state, the cost is going to be significantly higher.
Parasport Spokane has supported Eastern's program and saw themselves as partners, but they weren't consulted this time around.
I'm so distraught over that massive switch in what's important and how we treat people.
Eastern said in a statement that they, quote, understand this is a difficult time for the student athletes, and they have been offered additional scholarships to earn their degree from Eastern. Whether they stay or go, trust may be hard to come by.
They're going to be really making sure that the support system truly is there from the university, because right now they just don't feel that it is. Or at least if it is, it's not the same or the correct amount that they feel that they've gotten since they first came to Eastern.
The Eagles are focusing on finishing the rest of their season strong before those decisions loom. In the meantime, they're grateful for the continued support from the community.
It means a lot with how things go forward. We're definitely happy to be in the Cheney, Spokane area and have that support.
In Cheney, Caitlin Galloway, KREM 2 News.
We had a good appropriations bill last week on water issues.
From his office in Washington, D.C., Eastern Washington Congressman Michael Baumgartner addressed funding Congress appropriated for 6 projects in Eastern Washington, including nearly $2 million to upgrade the Adams County Jail, another $1 million for improvements to a wastewater treatment plant in the city of Palouse, and 4 other projects.
These water projects in particular, I feel very strongly about for our small towns.
The bills now head to the Senate, We also asked the congressman about the events in Minneapolis this week, the fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE officer, and whether he thinks it should be investigated or probed in a congressional hearing.
So it should be investigated. Obviously, it's a tragedy when anybody gets killed, but from what I've seen, it looks like a justified shooting in me in defense of the law enforcement officer. But again, I do want to see it investigated and get those facts out. And responsible public officials should do better than they've done, particularly in our state, just to respond to a politically charged environment.
When asked about DHS Secretary Kristi Noem calling Renee Good a domestic terrorist, Baumgartner had this to say.
I would like to refrain from making those kind of comments until there's an investigation, and I know more.
Thanks for joining KREM 2 News this weekend. I'm Cody Proctor. Right now, we're taking a look back at some of the news stories from the past week.
He did everything with me. I remember my big work truck. We drove up to the cabin. He'd be shifting for me, like 3 or 4 years old.
Alex Taylor grew up at the family's cabin just outside of Wenatchee, where his dad taught him woodworking.
And I have a lot of Snoopy stuff.
He made this for his stepmother.
Like I said, him and I, we started rough, but we came a long way.
Taylor was a good student, graduating with an engineering degree from Washington State University. But in his mid-20s, he became depressed. Doctors said it was schizophrenia.
Once Alex found out that he was diagnosed, he just didn't want to live with it. He didn't.
At 27, Taylor was admitted to Eastern State Hospital outside of Spokane. In May of 2023, he died by suicide there. The family is suing, saying Taylor was needlessly killed due to reckless and careless disregard and indifference by the Department of Social and Health Services. The suit says Taylor was known to have suicidal thoughts, telling staff members, quote, "I definitely would if I could." On May 12th, Taylor allegedly accessed a glass bottle from what was supposed to be a secure room through a faulty locked door. Staff got the bottle from him that time, but 4 days later, he got the same glass bottle through the doors that were still unlocked.
It's a Starbucks drink.
According to investigators, Taylor broke the bottle, repeatedly cut himself, and was in the shower bleeding for 2 hours before he was found. He could not be saved. The lawsuit alleges hospital staff was supposed to be checking on Taylor every 15 minutes. Dad David remembers getting the phone call.
Yeah, out of the blue, and he just says, well, this is so-and-so at Eastern State Hospital, and Alex had a little accident today, and he got cut quite badly, and now he's deceased.
Just like that.
Just like that.
He was there to be protected and helped, and you didn't do either one.
The Taylors hope a lawsuit will result in changes so others loved ones who need help will get it from the state in a safe setting.
I want them to admit what they did. I want them to admit how wrong they were. I want them to admit that they failed. Admit it. You know you failed.
Citing privacy laws and this ongoing lawsuit, the state cannot respond to any of our questions about Alex Taylor's case. We're told 7 patients from the state's hospitals have died by suicide over the past decade. In Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
Well, I'd love to see it get another 3 feet of snow. It's what it really needs.
This is nice. I prefer cold every time, though.
Mild temperatures and sunny skies on Mount Hood inspired some like Doug Perry to take a break from the skiing to lounge in the Timberline parking lot Tuesday afternoon.
Sunny, it's warm. As soon as I can check in, I'll be sitting on the deck and in the swimming pool.
While the weather was mild, the difficulty level for skiers and snowboarders was more moderate.
You got to work harder when it's slushy because puts a drag on your skis.
It's not as bad as it is when it's like icy out, but in my opinion, the slush kind of makes it harder because it's all like it's tamped down basically, and then you have like less margin for error.
The warm temperatures can also lead to other problems too, according to Portland Mountain Rescue, who just assisted in rescuing 2 people over the weekend.
We really caution people to just be really careful about activities like glissading and snowshoeing, typically not recommended this time of year, even on a sunny day, just because of the slipperiness. tracks. Even skiing can be really tricky just because like it's going to be hard to stop if you slip.
With a holiday weekend coming up, ski resorts like Mount Hood Meadows don't expect too much of a negative impact.
Skiing is fun for everybody. You just work on a different skill. Instead of powder skiing or drop it off in the trees, work on your edge control, just enjoy the beauty, take in the sun. It's still incredible just to be outside for us.
The work to keep the South Hill Bluff safe has been happening for some time, but they're hoping their work now will prevent bigger fires in the future.
The South Hill Bluff is a beloved part of Spokane.
I like the wind through there. It's really a windy spot, and so if you can sit and just watch the wind go by, watch the clouds go by, it's really mindful and peaceful.
My favorite part is when it's sunset and the sun is hitting all the trees and everything just looks perfect and golden.
But the Bluff's no stranger to wildfire. Just last year, multiple spot fires sparked along High Drive in one night in late May.
Living down the bluff, I've had to call and report fires, little brush fires that I've seen.
With the Bluff so close to people, cutting down its fire risk is a big priority for the Spokane Fire Department. On Tuesday night at the Women's Club, Wildland Resource Planner Nick Jeffries gave an update to community members about the work they've done so far. He says they've made progress since starting the Bluff project 2 years ago.
We just completed about 220 acres of fuels reduction on the bluff itself. That ties into a bigger picture. We'd already done another like 83, so we're at like 300 acres of the approximate 600 or 700 acres that needs treated on the bluff total.
As part of their fuel reduction, crews thinned out the trees on the bluff, pruned up them, and removed the slash by chipping and breaking it down. Jeffrey says that work will hopefully prevent a situation like the Gray and Oregon Road fires of 2023.
On that windy of a day and that type of condition, it could happen anywhere in the county. And so, you could easily have that fire on the bluff.
Ultimately, he doesn't want to scare people, but to make them aware.
This problem is not going away. It's only getting hotter and drier. We're only seeing worse fire seasons. We're only seeing more severe events. So it is something that should be on the back of people's minds.
Now, the work on the South Hill Bluff is far from over. Jeffrey says they plan to do another round of fuel reduction next fall. In the newsroom, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News. Welcome back to the KREM 2 News, a week in review. I hope you're having a great weekend. Let's get back to one more story you might have missed this past week.
Anticipation.
Spokane has had soccer fever for a while.
Is fueling soccer fans all across Eastern Washington ahead of One Spokane Stadium hosting the Seattle Sounders in March as they compete in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. This, the Sounders website says, hasn't happened in the Lilac City in more than 20 years. The reason comes from Lumen Field undergoing several construction projects as they get ready to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup come summertime. All the while, the Sounders and Seattle Reign will have a new home to play games in the spring while that prep continues.
It's amazing for our destination.
CEO of Visit Spokane Rose Noble says Spokane playing host to the teams will boost the local economy for soccer fans all over the state and beyond.
It's going to provide an opportunity for locals who might not be able to have the chance to travel, to the west side to see a game, and an opportunity for visitors that are happening upon Spokane.
A chance to see games and a chance for the city of Spokane to take part in the World Cup in a unique way. Noble says Spokane was chosen by FIFA to host a base camp come time for the World Cup. This means one of the soccer teams would use Spokane as their practice base when getting ready to prepare for games in Seattle. The opportunity came through a partnership with Visit Spokane, the city, and county. Right now, Noble says that depends on one of the teams choosing Spokane to be the spot for their facility. Additionally, Spokane is also one of 9 cities in the state that is set to have fan zone sites for the World Cup. It could include live music and food for people wanting to watch the games.
To have Spokane included in any level at the FIFA 26 capacity is really exciting.
Really exciting as fans wait for the Sounders to play at One Spokane Stadium against a team that's yet to be determined on March 18th. Reign fans can expect several games hosted there as well, with dates of matches announcing later this month.
Keep it here for more news and weather updates throughout the weekend. And don't forget, you can watch our latest newscasts anytime on your schedule on KREM 2 Plus. Download and watch right now for free. I'm Cody Proctor. Thank you for watching KREM 2 News Week in Review.